The New York City tram is an astonishing framework. It's long, has many stations, and was worked by 3 distinct organizations on raised, at level, underground, and dug tracks. It can be overwhelming to explore, particularly for the unenlightened. On top of that, attempting to comprehend the different administrations, foundations, and uncommon components of the framework adds an extra test. So in this extremely unique travel explainer, let's break down what the New York City tram is, how it works, what makes it exceptional, and where it's going. This is truly my second effort to make sense of the New York City tram, and the difficult thing with the framework, however enormous as the metro may be, is that assuming you attempt to get too unambiguous, you truly miss the timberland for the trees. It's just difficult to make a video that lets you know every bare essential detail of a framework while also still being a helpful synopsis, which is somewhat the place of an explainer. This is particularly obvious when your framework has nearby express stations and north of 25 distinct administrations that work. So the present video won't educate you regarding everything except basically all that you'll truly need to realize. I'll discuss how the more extensive organization meets up and what fixes things that are unique when contrasted with fundamentally every other metro framework out there. Because there are the world's different metros, and afterward there's New York. So what makes the New York City tram so epic and thus not quite the same as different frameworks? For one, the trains are by and large very lengthy. Many lines work 10-vehicle trains, and surprisingly, the smaller trains on the framework are in many cases extremely lengthy, up to 11 vehicles. By examination, numerous different frameworks have 8 or 6 or even 5-vehicle long trains. Maybe considerably more remarkably, New York City has broad express administrations across the metro. These exist both in rural regions as well as directly in the downtown area, and they are the standard, not the exemption. Since a large number of the framework's lines have an extra track or tracks completely committed to communicating trains, this implies that even in the densest pieces of the city, you can move around quickly. Simultaneously, New York doesn't simply have various tram lines with bunches of breaks, yet additionally an almost unfathomable number of associations between them. This permits train administrations to stumble into the city starting with one line, then onto the next, and that weighty interlining implies that even across the Goliath framework, many excursions can be made with a solitary difference in train. This foundation permits New York to connect with New Jersey, a different state part of the area. You get it, these are the significant air terminals Newark, LaGuardia, and JFK, the last option of which is the one in particular that is truly associated with legitimate fast travel. Right now, New York City is contained 5 distinct precincts: Staten Island, which has a rail line connected with the tram, yet not the tram, and not straightforwardly associated with other traveler rail benefits, as well as Sovereigns, the Bronx, Brooklyn, and of course Manhattan. The tram was initially made out of the confidential IRT and BMT frameworks. The IR Interborough Rapid Transit claimed lots of various raised lines all through the city, remembering for Manhattan, a large portion of which were hence taken out, and its lines are currently numbered courses that work more modest 2.7-meter wide and 15.5-meter long vehicles that go through Manhattan and into the external wards, especially the Bronx. The BMT, or Brooklyn Manhattan Travel Organization, began as the Brooklyn Quick Trains with longer vehicles can and could work in pieces of the framework. That being said, the metro framework overall is gradually normalizing around the more limited vehicles for general similarity. Now, with these 2 privately owned businesses being so basic to transportation in New York City, the city chose to make its own free framework, and consequently the IND, or independent, was conceived. The IND was set up to rival the IRT and BMT, or all the more explicitly destroyed them. However, in different cases, the frameworks generally wound up getting moved into one, and in view of this, you have circumstances like 23rd Road, where you have two IND lines riding an IRT line with around 200 meters among each, and the BMT line 350 meters east of that, which are all obviously known as 23rd Road. In the 10 years since the frameworks converged in 1940, they've gradually been coordinated along with increasingly interfacing lines between them. The BMT and IND, particularly with their larger trains that were for the most part the organization, should be mentioned. We ought to begin as the New York City Metro wayfinding framework does, with the lines going through Manhattan, the business center and densest piece of New York City. The Broad and North-South lines in Manhattan are not by any means the only lines on the Metro, yet they are logically the most impressive, and they truly are the framework spine. As things are today, the North-South trunks are 8th Road, 7th Road, Broadway, 6th Road, and Lexington Road. These trunks have 4 tracks. Amazing, I know, especially that 7th Road and Broadway trade rolls and bob off of one another, so south of Times Square, the 123 serve 7th Road and the NQRW serve Broadway, while the opposite is consistent with the north. 6th Road has the BDF and M trains, which venture to every part of the most broadly to serve eastern and central Queens, the Bronx and central and southern Brooklyn. Lastly, the most utilized metro line in North America, the Lexington Road line, which handles the 4, 5, and 6 trains that head out north to serve a large portion of the equivalent territories. At the same time, administration changes a lot depending on ongoing functions as well as around evening time or during delays, so sometimes a train that typically utilizes one course will utilize another, and sometimes trains that typically run nearby will run express and vice versa. And we haven't even got to every one of the various lines yet. There are likewise the J and Z, which don't go to Midtown and, on second thought, run from the Monetary District through the Lower East Side across the Williamsburg extension, alongside the M train, and afterward through northern Brooklyn wards. These lines have seen significant ridership development in recent decades and don't interline with different administrations. And due to these previous 2 points, they've been New York's entrance into present-day CBTC signaling, which permits trains to work at a high recurrence and only seconds separated. It likewise adds to the high unwavering quality of these routes. The 7 likewise plays host to one of the freshest areas on the whole tram organization, its western expansion from Times Square to downtown Brooklyn. The last administrations, and I've currently kind of alluded to them, are the buses, of which there are 3: the Rockaway Park Transport that works on the Rockaway's part of the A train course, the Franklin Road Transport that works between Prospect Park on the BMT Brighton line and Franklin Road on the IN Fulton Road line, and the most fascinating transport of all, the 42nd Road Transport that works utilizing tracks and passages that originate from railroad terminals in New Jersey to their last objections in Manhattan.